The funny thing about waiting for things to get worse is you're not too upset when they do. Rimworld is a colony survival and management simulator. As the player, you are tasked with the building and maintaining of both your base and your colonists. Joining me on this journey is a woman named Cassandra. Cassandra Classic. Cassandra is a unique individual in that she's completely devoid of anything that resembles compassion or empathy. She will send countless challenges your way with little to no regard for the well-being of you or your attackers. Cassandra cares not from whence the blood flows, only that it flows in her name. In today's video, I discover just how much Cassandra Classic hates me. I endure the raiders, countless hordes of rabid wildlife, the insects, and them. My recording session started with an alert that I didn't fully understand. Raiders were attacking my base. I clicked the icon and why am I looking at a bedroom? I paused and I stared at my screen for several seconds before it began to click. No, they wouldn't. So, did you know raiders can just drop pod their way into your base like the Emperor's finest? Because I fucking didn't. I grew up poor. We didn't have drop pods. We had alcoholism and cigarette burns, not deep striking terrorism. I drafted everyone and gathered around the bedroom door. I was ready. If these raiders were equipped well enough to pull off an attack like this, I had a lot to be afraid of. Except, it turns out they blew their entire military budget on just the pods. Well, that's embarrassing. Thanks for the aim experience, lads. I'm billing you for that table. I was terrified that Cassandra had finally decided I was ready for some real challenges. I changed my mind when Nadio sent their special forces to attack me.
Now when you say special...
What I didn't know was that Cassandra was just greasing me up before taking her pants off. And my oh my, is she a girthy gal. This was it. This was the thing I was warned about. This was the threat that had haunted my dreams this entire playthrough. But, only 2 of them. Yeah, I was honestly expecting something a lot worse. It turns out the melee ones die really easily when you just burst them down. I like that the melee ones just look like they're trying to go in for a hug and a little smooch. But I saw this for the warning that it was. I was officially on borrowed time. If I wanted to keep breathing, I'd need to start being more careful. I finished researching Insectoid refinement. I built my hydroponics facility, and I had pretty much an infinite supply of food and narcotics. Starvation would never be a threat to me again. I hope. Everything was going fine until the unthinkable happened. Tidy, who I had risked life and limb to rescue, had betrayed us. But worst of all, she betrayed Peck by dumping him and taking his bed in the divorce. It was awful. The poor man just didn't know what to do with himself. But he was gonna have to get over it real goddamn quick because it turns out Cassandra's Catholic. She heard about Tidy's sinful act of separation and punished my colony with a plague of raccoons, followed immediately by a plague of rabbits. Of all the threats I've faced in this game, I have never been brought so close to death by anything. Ever. But I was caught completely unprepared and the trash pandas punished me for my failure. My colonists were just absolutely mangled beyond recognition. Especially poor Tidy, who was just harvesting my corn when the assault began. Look at you, Tidy. These are the fruits of your sinful labor. It got so bad that Nichols had to step in and remind everyone he was the only person worth caring about. Absolutely embarrassing. The rabbits weren't too bad, except Tidy decided to go full potato. She was in the middle of a tantrum, so she threw the doors open and stormed outside. The Eryctolagus caniculus swarmed her as she fought and clawed at the doors to get them open. I mean, she kind of succeeded. You know, the nice thing about being attacked by animals is you literally have free meals just throwing themselves at you. My already stuffed pantry was starting to overflow.
Yummy.
And it was about to get a lot fuller because a horde of iguanas tried to succeed where their mammalian comrades had failed. I'd give them like a solid 6 out of 10. High effort, but the results were less than stellar. On the bright side, they're gonna make great pants. What's fascinating about all of this is as soon as I decided I wanted to beat this game, the AI just decided to crank the difficulty up to 1,000. If I had decided to live out the rest of my days as a peaceful potato farmer, I feel like this would have never happened. And you know, ambition sparks anger and envy in those just too weak to pursue it. And the locals saw what I was becoming. I was rising above the waste of this planet with my skater boys and pursuing a higher purpose. A purpose in the stars. If my destination was in the sky, then it would make sense that my attackers would come from below. Insectoids were burrowing their way toward my base, except they decided to pop out over here. They didn't really do much, they just roamed around in circles. Maybe I was mistaken about these creatures. Maybe they weren't as bad as I'd been led to believe. Maybe we could peacefully coexist. On the other hand, that's my property, and trespassers go in the snack pile. Rather than race up to meet them, I opened the wall to the room that doesn't exist. The firefight was short, especially since 2 of them went the really long way around. I purged the alien menace and noticed they left behind a little treat for me. They dropped something called insect jelly. I was sickened, but curious. So, I tossed it in the storeroom and just kind of left it there. The forbidden honey looked profitable. And if it wasn't, I at least wanted to find out. I think only a couple of days went by before the mechs came back and decided to litter on my lawn. These things weren't just murderous AI, they were also extremely inconsiderate. We at the Skater Boys colony have standards, sir. You will not leave your psychic septic tank in my front yard. Also, I downloaded another mod. I love artillery. I think it's one of the coolest weapon types in any sort of game, and it absolutely breaks my heart that the mortar is just so ass to use. So, I fixed that with the Accurate Mortars mod by Shootix. These things aren't complete ass anymore. They're actually good. Even the raiders were happy to see the change. I blew this one up, and he immediately talked to his friend about how much he loves cats. You know, that might actually be because of the severe internal bleeding. Specifically in the brain area, I don't know, I'm not a doctor. Some of you might have noticed I've been fortifying the outer areas of my base lately. Just busting my ass night and day to make my home into a proper base. Part of that process is I built this neat hallway. Now I know it seems very clunky and awkward. After all, who would want to march through all of this just to get to and from my house? It turns out the White Sound Pact would. They were more than happy to walk their way into that long, twisty tunnel. I didn't do a very good job of decorating the place, so they had to awkwardly shuffle through the corridors. And wouldn't you know it, silly old me didn't put any lights in there. But that was fine! The raiders decided to handle that for me. Get a little fire going, maybe warm things up a little. This place was getting cozy. Fun fact, did you know tissue begins to melt and dissolve around 200 degrees Fahrenheit? I didn't. I was too busy watching people cook alive inside of a marble oven to study chemistry. A huge thanks to Seth Zintak for this idea. As for the raiders, I managed to capture one alive before their organs ruptured. I didn't have much use for them, but I did have a use for that armor. Uranium full plate. Uranium. I hope you have enough kids, Peck, cause you ain't having more after this. If the radiation doesn't make you sterile, the lymphoma will probably do the trick. Another thing of mechs came down, and this time they were actually armed. A couple of smaller ones, and one of the, whatever the fuck this thing is. It looks like a tank if Apple designed it. This was what I was waiting for. This felt like an actual threat. I mustered the troops and gathered around my entryway. My colonists lined up, my trap was set, and I waited. There was one thing I needed to do before the fight started. I killed a raider a while ago, and he dropped a 2-pack of Bang Energy. Peck's getting a little on in years, so I decided, fuck it, why not? Let's give him a little pep before the big fight. I didn't realize methamphetamines came in liquid concentrate. Peck was tweaking out like that guy who followed me home from the gas station that one time. Now he was waiting next to the door for his victims. The poor robots didn't stand a chance. Whatever mechanoids are made out of, it's not as strong as a 40-year-old crackhead with a pointy thing. Tidy, in her infinite wisdom, decided to make fun of him for tasting the rainbow. This sent Peck into a coke-fueled rage. Remember, kids, it's not domestic violence if they're not married anymore. It's just regular violence, which is fun and cool. Seriously though, if Tidy gets sent to the infirmary one more time, she gets a free sundae. Honestly, I should just make it her bedroom at this point. Speaking of Peck, you might recall I've had a few interactions with his family. I saved his daughter in the second episode along with his now ex-wife. At some point, I managed to recruit his son without noticing. I don't even remember where I got him. I wasn't recording when it happened. I just ended up with this poor hunchbacked burden and decided to take him in. His daughter Lumi, on the other hand, wasn't so lucky. It turns out she was a real team player. She stuck to her guns and would never sell out her countrymen. Unfortunately, she decided to attack my base with the unwavering loyalty trait. A very bold decision, really, and one I kind of had to respect. Thanks for giving 3 of my colonists depression, you selfish bitch. After all of that, after enduring a little bit of everything, I finally had peace. Days went by, followed by weeks. I was attacked by a few smaller groups of raiders, but never anything crazy. I improved my base and I expanded, building more rooms and researching better tech. This world was telling me I wasn't welcome here anymore, and I heard it loud and clear. All of this preparation was leading to my main goal, getting off of this intergalactic shithole. More guns, more bodies, more combat stims. I wasn't surviving, I was thriving. When you have over 4,000 potatoes, the struggles of daily life tend to fall away, leaving you with time to focus on what really matters. Replacing everyone's limbs with cybernetic enhancements and mass-producing power armor. EMP grenades for the mechs, laser rifles for anyone who could use one, also a minigun, which sucks but is really funny to use. After weeks of grinding out resources, I finally found something infinitely valuable, a persona core. I just needed to depopulate the area of all the natives that were holding it. I don't really care if that makes me a bad person. I don't have to respect your property rights if you're too dead to sue me. Just a few more things to research and that would be it. Once I finish my research, I'm going to give my colonists the best gear possible. These won't be colonists, they'll be bionic super soldiers with the best gear money can buy. And with any luck, they'll be off of this godforsaken rock and en route for whatever life they left behind. To see if I was ready to do this or not, I flipped this game on its head. Yeah, how do you like it? I blew up an enemy colony. I showed up, I purged them, I took their crap, I left. Aside from the Mechanoids, I am officially the apex predator on this rock. After some more hoarding, after some preparing, and a lot of planning, this was it. I was ready. I set up my caravan, I picked my destination, and I was off. I watched my colony begin to break everything down before they departed. And you know, it's funny. My heart sank when I watched everything unfold. How could I be so attached to something so simple? This game isn't a visual masterpiece by any means, but it's moments like these that remind me video games are art. It felt like I was leaving home. That settlement was the birthplace of this series, and it was where all of this really started. Cassandra decided to bid me farewell in her usual way, but the Mechanoids were happy to just sleep the day away and let me leave. The colony was theirs. I didn't need it anymore. With a heavy heart and a soft sigh, I left home. Nearly 3 weeks went by before I arrived at the spaceship. This was it. This was where everything would come to an end. And next episode, I'm getting this thing up and running, and I'm going home. I hope you enjoyed this video. This series has been a blast to make, and I hope it's been just as fun to watch. A huge thank you to my patrons. You make it possible for me to keep up this endless series of war crimes. But above all else, I'd like to take a minute to thank someone very special. My wife, Danielle, she is absolutely amazing. She is more or less my producer. Most of the time, whenever I record a script like this, she's right there listening in, telling me if I need to slow down, if I need to re-record something. More or less, my best work always comes out when she's there helping me. Every time. If you've ever watched a video of mine and gone, wow, that was a really good script, wow, that was a really good take, wow, that was a great video, that was her. It may be my voice, it may be my writing, but she is what allows me to keep doing this, and without her guidance, I don't know if I could keep making such quality content. This video I'm recording by myself right now. She's not home, and she doesn't know I'm saying this. And I'm going to do everything in my power to make sure she doesn't hear this until the video goes live. So, hun, I know you're watching this right now. Just know, I love you, and I can't thank you enough for this. Thank you all again. I hope you enjoyed. I'll see you all next time.